So it's time right now for another photo critique. It's episode 2, and thank you so much for so many photos that have been submitted to talk about. Unfortunately, I can't talk about more than 20 to 25 photos per episode, and that is why there are so many episodes, but thank you. Now, before we start, how do you submit photos for this photo critique? If you're interested, in the description of this video there's a link to a group on Facebook. You click to join that group, and in the pin post you post your photos as comments. Do not post directly in the group because I won't see the photos. In the current pinned post your photos as comments. Now, if you're accessing this from your mobile device, you may be needed to click see pin post or something like this. Okay, now let's get started. Today I'm going to talk about first about 3 photos that I forgot to talk in episode 1, then the other photos from episode 2, and then in the end some of the photos from Instagram. But I prefer photos that are posted here on Facebook because I have them organized. So let's get started. I will talk again as quickly as possible because I want to cover all the images. I will start with this photo from Jarek Poplawski. I think this is the right way. Again, sorry if I might mispronounce your names. This is a photo made on a shot on a Sony Nex 5 46mm f8 320th of a second ISO 200. Okay, as a composition, I really like this photo, and I would say now one thing. I don't know if this was intentionally or is it because of the format of the photo, but this is the good thing from this photo. Okay, it's the rule of thirds. The building is positioned where it should be, but this adds depth to the photo. So if this was not intentional, remember next time you do this. But this is a good photo, and also the editing is good. I like that it's not an editing that it's overpowering the photo. Okay, let's move to the next one. As a composition from Duncan Craig, shot on a Canon 600D 6-stop filter, ND filter. Okay, in a situation like this, first of all, shooting on an ND filter to give you a really long exposure, I don't think it would be necessary, and because the water it's not that interesting in my opinion to be worth having that long exposure. But this is a personal decision, so it's not that big of a deal. Now, in terms of composition, I really like that this is kind of triangle that goes to the waterfall. The main problem that I'm having is that this waterfall, it's too far to the right. I think you should have framed it somewhere around here. Also, I don't know if you used a polarizer filter or not, because it looks that the photo is not having a polarizer, but then again I may be wrong. Maybe it's polarized over here and here is not. In terms of editing, I think it's a little bit too much, and you increase the saturation and the contrast a little bit too much, and you have this yellowish and orange reflection from the water. Let's move to the next one. Jack Bronze. In terms of composition, this photo, it's okay. The long exposure, I think, works okay. The editing, it's something that I think should have been done differently. I don't like, for example, this teal feeling from this photo. I think it's a little bit too strong, and I also think that this photo would have looked much better in black and white, and the reason for this is because there is no colorful elements that will look okay, and the black and white I think would concentrate more the eye on the foreground element and then on the mountains in the back. Now let's move to the photos from this episode, and I will start with Thomas Dovidaitis, Canon 6D, f11, 1/4 of a second exposure. The moment is good, the boat it's in the right position, it's a simple image, and I think the composition it's it's okay. Now in a situation like this, you may be saying that you're not placing the horizon line in the middle, but I don't think in a situation in this situation I don't think it hurts. Of course you can experiment having this line up to show that the boat is coming from somewhere, or to have this line of horizon down to kind of show that the boat is going to somewhere. These are two ways of suggesting this, but it's okay in this in this situation. It's okay to have it on the middle. The editing, I like it. It's not too overpowering, so I think everything is good with this photo. Andre Duncan, D500, 8mm, 100th of a second, f22, ISO 100, no tripod. Now, using f22 has to have a really good reason because of diffraction. This means that after f16 usually the clarity of the lens decreases, and when you are using f22 you need to have a really good reason. For example, in this photo I think that maybe f11 would have been more than enough. So let's move to other things like composition. So the only positive effect that I'm seeing from f22 is this star on the sun, but you can also achieve this at even f16, which has a better clarity. Now, in terms of composition, the main interest is the bridge, and right now the bridge is behind these ugly branches of the tree. So next time ask yourself really careful, what am I photographing here, and is my subject positioned correctly? Ana Sousa, hola Toma Boncho, hola Beck. F11 28mm ISO 100 in Portugal. Okay. The only thing that I would have tried in this situation, I would have tried to have this a little bit, just a little bit higher, because all the story, it's about this. The sky, it's not that interesting, and maybe I would have come up to right here on the sky, and that's the only minus of this photo. But this photo looks okay like this. So the idea is that, in my opinion, it has too much sky, because this area, it's not that interesting. Miguel Buschauer, Hasselblad. Okay, this was taken on rather overcast. Focus on the first peak line to get the hikers visible. Well, it's the main. This is the main thing. This is the main minus, I think. If you didn't mention over there about the hikers, I would not even notice them. Yeah. Well, in terms of composition, if you wanted to portray the hikers, this is not such a good place to do that, and mainly because they are hidden by vegetation. Now, in terms of other things related to composition, I think that this area over here, it's not that interesting, and I would have preferred having the photo cropped from here up. Other than that, it's a good photo. The black and white conversion, it's okay. It's not that it's not something that goes overboard. Peter Drechsler, Pentax K1, 21mm at f4 ISO 120 seconds. These are the observations at the top of Mauna Kea, Hawaii. Okay. Well, I'm usually not that interested about night photography, but I think it looks better when you have either the Milky Way in the frame, or if you just have stars, to have the rotation of the stars. And this is my opinion. Other than that, the observatories look okay, they have enough light on it, but it's just the way the sky looks. It's not that interesting. Fill Hoyle F8 1/160th of a second, ISO 200, in Derbyshire, UK, 2 shots panel, and he also uses a graduated filter. This is a nice shot. The only problem is, well, I think there always have to be a small problem. Your composition goes to this direction, okay? But you also have this point of interest over here because of the light. Now, if I'm saying that I should go to the light, then this composition doesn't help at all. If I'm saying that this is the main line, then this area doesn't help at all. So my suggestion for this photo would have been to, if I would have been there with you, to concentrate on this, because this is a much more powerful composition, and to frame the image from here to here. Matt Davey, Mount Cook, New Zealand, shot on Fujifilm, Samyang 12mm lens, 10 seconds, ISO 100, can't remember the f-stop. Okay, well, it's obvious that your subject is this mountain in the background. Remember, always, when you are using wide angle lens, these lenses will make the foreground elements look bigger and the background elements look smaller. So if your subject is in the background or far in the background, be careful that it's going to be diminished by the perspective of the lens. Now, for me, it's obvious that that is the subject. My main problem is that subject is too in center. This subject should have been somewhere over here, because you would have had a much more powerful line over here, and this would have looked much better. Also, look for some order, for something that would direct the eye, for example, in that direction, and then come down with this ridge, and then have the mountains over there. Other than that, the black and white conversion looks good. Caleb Al-Gharib, Nikon D810, 24-to-120, 24mm, f11, 25 seconds, ISO 64. It looks okay. I don't know if you take a look at your photo on where you've edited. If you have these aberrations, this bending of that it's present over here on your photo, then it's bad. If this is something that Facebook did when you uploaded the photo, then it's okay. Now, suggestion: catch the entire building over here and also in the reflection. This is the only suggestion that I have. Paul Robson, North Wales, Fujifilm f11, 13th of a second, 12mm. I think I saw this photo, or I talked about this photo in the last episode also. From what I remember, I think for sure that I talked about it in the last episode. If you didn't saw it, then just few words. This reflection doesn't look okay over here. You have a point of interest over here and another one over here. My suggestion was in the last episode to just go over here and use the reflection. Mike Mitchell, stack focus, Canon 5DSR 16mm. Okay, in a situation like this at 16mm, I don't think you need to do focus stacking. If you go at f16 at 16mm, you should have been okay. You don't need focus stacking for this. The quality of the image, it's not that good. I don't know if you upsize it. If you did upsize it, oh, okay. I would only judge the composition. The composition is okay, and the way you frame it, it's okay. The light, it's okay. The only thing is that it looks really strange. It might be a little bit overexposed, but there are no perfect details in the photo, but the composition is okay. Hui Boon, a panoramic shot made up of 7 vertically composed images, D800, 24mm f16, 16th of a second. Personally, I find light is flat in this image. Sky also not that interesting. The most is just an average image to me, so I'm interested to hear what others think. Well, yeah, the light is flat. You could have tried to improve it by using a gradiated filter in the top part of 2 stops, let's say, but the image, it's decent, it's okay, it presents the situation better, it has a point of interest, it has the road that goes into the distance, so the image, it's okay for what it is and for the place. Maybe the editing, it's pushing the saturation of the grass a little bit too far, but it's not that big of a deal. Jesper Bjorn Anderson, thank you Tom for the add to this photo critique. Morning shot with heavy fog, Canon 700D f8, ISO 100, 241 seconds exposure. Okay, 20mm. The 241 second exposure, I think, calmed the water pretty good, and I think the image is okay. It does the job. It's hard for me to give suggestions to improvement because I see some grass over here, and I don't know if you could have positioned yourself differently. In a situation like this, helps if you only have one interesting element. The only minus is this small tree over here that also has the eye directed to it. Maybe if you would have had another smaller tree over here, would have helped. But other than that, it's okay. It's not a spectacular image. That is the big minus. It's not a spectacular. It's a correctly image, but it's not a true spectacular one. Cesare Corsieco, about 1 kilometer from my home. Nikon D800, 50mm f 3.5 ISO 400. Okay, this image, it's perfect the way it is. You don't need to do anything. It's okay. It looks good, and I really like that you've included the road. Andrew Criswell, night shot at Pra Kanong market in Bangkok. Settings unknown. Okay. Well, it's usually when you do street photography, I'm not a master in street photography and I don't do street photography, but I like to see street photography that is about something. The photo is correctly executed, but I don't see any story in this image. This is the suggestion that I have for you in the future. Try to tell a better story, or try to find, maybe if you would have walked around these ladies, and maybe if the face of this lady would have been visible, because I have the impression that she's the one that does the talk. It's a very difficult type of photography, street photography, and in this case I don't think it's something that interesting. Vazrul Saltiani, Fujifilm 500 seconds f8 ISO 400 enhanced on Snapseed. Okay, I really like this foggy effect over here. Clearly the foam from the water looks okay, and 500 second exposure really calmed things down, and the composition is really good. This goes here, and then you have the mountain over here. Of course, that I would have preferred to have the mountain completely separated on this area over here, but it looks okay like this. The photo, it's okay. Okay, Darren J. Spoonley, hi Tom, great idea to start this part. Let's see more. Great idea to start this part of your regular vlogs. You always mention keep on photographing, it's the only way to get better, but another aspect of that is get feedback from others. Love your channel, thanks for your appreciation. Here's my image in conclusion. Okay, and of course he has a YouTube video. I don't have time to click here right now, I'll take a look at it. So if you want, just search it on the episode 2, Darren J. Spoonley. Check out his YouTube video. Camera Canon 6D, 2 exposures, 1/4 of a second and 2 exposures and 15 seconds for the water and 1/4 of a second I think for the upper part. 20mm f11. Okay, the image is okay from every aspect, but I think that if I would have been there, I think that I would have tried also another composition, and that composition would have started a lot lower, just to concentrate only on this area over here. You're trying to say here 2 stories and they're not truly connected. This is one story of the waterfall and the other one it's the sunset, and the light of the sunset stops over here. It's not connected with this one over here. That is why I think there is something that it's not really working. The photo is okay, the composition is okay, the exposure it's okay, everything technically it's okay in this photo. What I think it's difficult to say if staying a little bit lower or a lot lower would have made things look much better, but this is just a supposition. I'll take a look at the video to maybe have a better idea on the on the location. Ina Pietz or Pietz, sorry if I know for sure that I mispronounced it. Shot from the Alps with Canon 600D, 18mm f5.6, 200th of a second, and ISO 1250. In the editing process I mainly did some color and tone curve adjustments and reduced the highlights and the shadows. I really like the atmosphere of the picture, but I'm not quite sure about the composition. Okay, first my suggestion for you is to have a tripod with you. Try to find a carbon fiber tripod that it's really small and you can carry with you, just to have the clarity of the f8 and the lack of noise from the ISO 100 or maybe 200. This is a technical suggestion. As in a composition, about the composition, there's a lot that it's going on over here. I think the composition would have worked perfectly if this mountain would have not been here. We can't tear down the mountain, we can't take this mountain down, and so what I think right now is, in this situation there are 2 points of interest, this one and this one. This one over here is the true subject and it's sustained by the composition, but this is visible because of contrast. So my suggestion would have been to go further to the left and then look and have only this, or in the frame, and maybe just a part of it. In this situation we can also try and cut a portion of the image. I like this line over here and this line over here and this subject. Now if you go to the left, I'm hoping that this line will become longer and better sustain the subject, and this one will move to the left side of your photo. Valentinos Lukaides, this was shot on a Nikon D700 f4 at 16mm f11, 166 seconds with 10 stop filter. Okay, in terms of editing, I think it's really pushing it a little bit. You can also see this edge over here that it's not that pleasant to look at, and also in the water you kind of start getting some bending and some chromatic aberration. Also, there is a short vlog, so again, remember the name if you want to visit the vlog over here. It's in episode 2. There's a video, and I'm trying to decide if this element would have been necessary. In my opinion, but this is just my opinion. In my opinion, it's not that interesting. This is what I think. I would have preferred to see only this in the shot, and an editing. But this again, with the editing, it's my personal preference not to have colors that vibrant. Andrei Balou, salut Toma. Okay, so it's in Romanian, so I'll try to translate the words. Congratulations for your videos. Thank you. I've learned a lot. Thank you. I just want to participate in one of your workshops. Whenever you want, just come. Until then, I will show you a photo. It's done 2 weeks ago on Raro Mountain on Nikon D5200, 18 to 55 millimeters. Okay, again, the editing and the saturation mainly, I think it's too strong. Other than that, the composition is okay. I really like that there are some steps in the snow that leads to this bench over here. The composition, everything is okay. Just don't use the saturation to that intense. David Nicol, this was taken on a Canon 6D 24 I think, to 105 millimeters f4 and lens at f11. I saw on the trap, the freezing fog, there was so many compositions. Well, again, my suggestion, concentrate only on one element. In this situation we have this tree over here. This should have not been in your shot. Other than that, everything is okay. It looks foggy, it looks mysterious, but you have a second element that draws the eye. Concentrate only on one element. Dan Sexton, moss spores. I think this looks great. Simple, and you have a simple diagonal in the image, and they look interesting. Of course, again, maybe you keep the saturation on this and you dim down a little bit the green on this, and this way they pop some a little bit more, but it looks great. Myros Shape, I was snowboarding. Okay, let's see. In Luminar, I post-processed the picture. I made the sky a bit darker, brought the highlights, and made the stars brighter. The cloud. Okay, now whenever you do night photography, I think you should have an interesting foreground element. This is the foreground element that I don't think it looks that interesting. And as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, when you have stars, I think you should have the Milky Way or the movement of the stars. Richard Brett. This is my first attempt at sunrise photography. Okay, what you need to do is, first of all, get in a position where the sunrise is visible or the light from the sunrise is visible on a subject. Then choose a subject. This photo has no subject right now. Choose a subject and then find the composition that supports the subject. Steve Algie, would love your critique to critique my photo. Tom, I like the image but feel the crop could have been different. This photo was taken after waiting for approximately 30 minutes. Okay, EOS M5, 30mm f8. I saw hung the balance on okay. Well, I don't. The composition, it's okay. It's okay. You have this line over here. It fills the frame. The only thing that you could do in terms of cropping would have been to cut it from here. But even even as it is right now, it's not hurting the eye. Massimo Santoro with another photo from Gardena, from Val Gardena. This is Passo Gardena actually. This is a really beautiful spot that we are also photographing during my photo tour in the Dolomites. This is nice. I don't have anything bad to say about this photo. It's a sunset. It's purely beautiful. The Dolomites are purely beautiful. And if you are living there, Massimo, that is a really beautiful place to live. And if I would have to move to a place, I think that area of Cortina or Val Gardena would be a place to move. Nice photo. It's beautiful the way it is. Now let's switch quickly to photos on Instagram. As I told you, it's easier for me to keep things organized on episodes on Facebook, but let's take a look at photos from Instagram. This is from Scott S. Chambers. It's 0.6 seconds f16. This looks good as a composition. This is good, and there is nothing more that you could have done in a situation like this. Got Tone, the Wilderness. Okay. Well, I think I don't know, this is the point of interest, but this has a lot more contrast in it. The photo, it's interesting, but it lacks something, and I can't point my finger. I can't point my finger on it. Well, you know that moment when you look at something and even though it's interesting, there is something that it's not working. This is the area that bothers me. This is the area that aligns a little bit oddly with the other trees. Maybe a shot where you have this a little bit more into covering the back, the stone in the back. This I think would have been an improvement. Okay, this has a beautiful light, but it's a shot basically about nothing. This is what you need to find in your shots. You only have lines that direct the eye, but the eye doesn't stop to look at something. It's an entire frame that needs to have something interesting in it, but as it is, it's okay. The only thing that lacks is a point of interest, something that will keep the eye focused. This is again from the same guy. This is okay as it is. This has a clear line and a clear view. Okay, this one from Craig Dougie Holmes. I think that this photo would have looked better if this would have been a little bit to the left and because you have a really nice descending line. This line it's okay. Also the cloud line, it's okay and goes into here. So this area over here, in my opinion, should have been over here, and then you would have had a better evolution. Maybe the photo is bigger, you can crop it again. This one from Joel. This type of photo needs a story, and it lacks the story. This is okay, it's a red light, but it needs another element that would be connected to this red light. Why this red light? It's important. It's important because, for example, an accident happened over here and you show the red light and you kind of make a story of it, but as it is, it's not something that looks interesting for me, at least. Sakol 747. This for me looks perfect. It's nothing more that you can do. It's really beautiful. It almost looks like this is the sun, this thing over here. It's okay. The photo, it's beautiful. Marius Labushag. Okay, I will not try to pronounce your name. Just Marius. Again, you need to find the subject. This over here, it's not presenting any subject, it's just a snapshot. Find the subject, find something interesting to photograph, then find the composition that leads the eye to the subject. Wild Bill, this is beautiful. This is a beautiful photo and I have nothing bad to say about it. It's okay as it is. I like the foreground element, I like how the line goes then to the far distance. I think there are sufficient details in the sky. I don't mind a little bit of noise over here. I think the photo looks okay. Paulak. This is an interesting image of a tree, but you need a little bit more negative space for this kind of shot. I think this photo was was mentioned in the first episode, but if I make this mistake, then these trees need to you need to find order. You need to find an interesting focus only on one of the trees and make it pop. When I'm looking at this photo, I don't know exactly what is my subject. You need to have a clear vision of your subject and the composition that supports your subject. Windy Wonders. This is a beautiful atmospheric photo. As atmosphere, this photo, it's perfect the way it is. And I don't think you should change anything about this photo. There are two main problems with this photo. First, the editing, it's too strong, too much blue, too much orange, too much saturation. This is my own personal opinion, but there are 883 people that think otherwise. So be very careful how much you believe me. And then I like to see photos that have much more powerful points of interest. But again, there are 883 people that contradict me. Again, Marius, this is a better photo. This is a better photo, but the evolution of your photo, it's only on this side, and this side has nothing to do with the photo. So make sure you have a justification for every area in the photo. So maybe you could have went to the right, and then you have this line pointing like this, and then the eye turns to these trees or whatever these are. This is nice from G Goldthorpe. G Goldthorpe. This is nice. The only problem is that you have a lot of support from this area to the trail and none from this area over here. This is too much editing in this area of the photo. You should have had a lot more detail. You boost up the shadows too much in this photo, I think. Other than that, would have been okay. The forest looks nice, but it's a photo about nothing. This is my idea, because you don't have order. You just have some trees. And if you had them in a horizontal line, then would have looked better. But this diagonal, I don't think it looks okay. This is not something that I would have photographed, because there is too much clutter. There's a visible trail, but it's not sufficient, I think, because of the clutter of the forest, the chaos of the forest. G Goldthorpe, again, an interesting place, but your photo, it's up to here. This area doesn't support the image. If you would have had only the tree here and no road, then okay, this would have been the photo. But because of the road, your photo needs to stop over here. And that's it. Okay, so these were the photos in episode 2. I hope it's not that long. I hope you like and found my advices useful, and you'll decide to subscribe to this YouTube channel. And until next time, keep on photographing is the only way that you can get better. Thanks for watching, and bye bye.